The law of attraction is a mysterious force that is at play every moment of our lives. It manifests itself in our thoughts, emotions, actions, and even in the events we attract into our lives. If you understand how this law works, you can consciously use it to create the life you want. First of all, the law of attraction makes no distinction between positive and negative thoughts. It simply sends back to you what you emit. If your most dominant thoughts are negative and coupled with emotions such as fear, anger, or frustration, you will attract negative situations into your life. On the flip side of that, if your most dominant thoughts are positive and are coupled with emotions such as gratitude, joy, and love, you will attract positive situations into your life. If you want to change your life, you have to start by changing your mindset. This means that you must learn to think positively and visualize the life you want. The more you visualize this life with emotion, the more you will attract it to you. But be aware, the law of attraction does not work like a magic wand. You can't just sit on your sofa and wait for things to happen. You need to take concrete steps to achieve your goals. The law of attraction will help you attract the opportunities and the people who will help you achieve your goals, but you still need to act. So my intentions behind having these conversations are to give people the opportunity to share their real life stories of success by working in harmony with the law of attraction. I want to gather as much evidence for people to see that this is real and that they too can use the law to create the life they want. So my guest today is the one and only Julie Fitzpatrick. She's funny, she's charming, she's magnetic, and my favorite person to follow on Instagram. Julie is the founder of Positive Attractions, and through her business, she helps people to live their best life through vision boards and gratitude workshops. She is a wife to Stephen and mother to Nicole. And today, Julie is going to share with us an example of how she used the law of attraction for success. Hi, Julie.
Hiya, Carrie.
I am so honored you're here. You're honest to God, you really are one of my favorite people on Instagram. I need to see everything you're doing. I cannot miss a post.
Thank you so much. Thank you for following me and thank you for bringing me here. I'm honored to be here. So very excited.
You're one of the first people that came to my mind because you live and breathe this work. You are the cover girl of the law of attraction. I mean, it is you. If we looked it up in the dictionary, your face would be beside it.
The first time I've ever been called a cover girl.
There you go. So today, Julie, we're going to get into an example of, and like you said, you have used it so many times. It was so difficult for you to even pick one because you've used it a lot of times. So yes, we got you down to one example. And again, in the future, you can always share more with us, but we'll stick to this one example today. And it's an amazing example. And I know there'll be a lot of people who will want to know exactly how you done this. So you want to tell us what it is you manifested?
So my example today is probably my biggest one, but not in size. They'll be very offended if you hear that, but probably, the greatest one. And that was my husband, Stephen. I literally manifested him totally.
Oh my God. I mean, that's amazing.
Right from, it started off, I wanted a partner, it wasn't specifically him at the start. So way before I knew him, I just wanted to meet someone and have a life partner and essentially a husband. I did want to get married. I make no bones about that fact. And then whenever I found him, it was specifically him that I manifested. And it's funny there, because you talked about concrete steps and opportunity and having to act. There was a lot of action involved. So don't ever think that this is an easy road, but I definitely did it. And I've no doubt that it was the law of attraction that done it.
Oh my goodness. I just can't wait to get into this story, Julie, because I'm so intrigued. So let's go back, okay, before you met Stephen. Who were you back then? Give everyone, an image that we can call up in our minds of who you were and what your life was like before you met Stephen.
Okay.
The kind of things you were thinking, and yeah.
I suppose what's maybe different for a lot of people, I was kind of always the positive person, the positive, happy, I'm not going to give this story where, rags to riches or sort of a, sad to happiness. I had a good life, you know, I did. And it, like so many people, their journey on the law of attraction started with the book, The Secret, you know, with so many people, you know, we all know about it. And of all the millions of or hundreds of books that I've read so far, I'll always go back to that one, back to basics. And I think it's the best one for implementing steps. And whenever I read it, I was just like, this is me. I do all of this stuff. I was what you will know as an unconscious competent. I'm sure a lot of people don't know, watching maybe don't know what that is. And it basically just means without even trying, the law of attraction was part of my life. I just didn't know it. I didn't understand and I didn't know. And that'll be the same for so many of you out there. You'll be using the law of attraction without even knowing. You're unconsciously competent. So anyhow, I read that. And as I say, you know, life was fine. There was no real, you know, sadness or anything bad about my life. But it got to a stage, it was probably early 30s. Obviously, it was only last year. And I wanted to just settle down and, you know, have a life partner. So, you know, I had the house, I had my daughter, I had the broken relationships, I had the X, Y, and Z. And it was like, I want to now. And I know that some people be like, oh, you know, you don't need a man to get on with. And it wasn't like that at all, because, you know, he needs more than more than I need him. I do. But it's not about, you know, it's like people, you know, I'd been single for 7 years. And don't get me wrong, you know, I had Nicole, which was brilliant. And I was very lucky that a lot of people were in situations where they didn't have kids, they didn't have a home, they didn't have, you know, they hadn't experienced any of that. But I just really wanted someone to live my life with, share my life with, company. So suppose while everything was brilliant and everything was great in my life, maybe there was that element of loneliness. And, you know, brilliant friendship circle, brilliant, and the life and soul, so many friends, so many connections. But that was the one thing that was missing. And that was just the one thing that I wanted. And I suppose it was because at that stage then my friendship groups, they were getting married, they were settling down. And by that point, Nicole was, you know, 10, 11, 12. They were having their younger kids. So it was like, I just want to, and that's totally from the heart, me speaking. I wanted to just meet someone and settle down. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to think kind of how it came about. So anyhow, yes, you know what it's like. You know, my mum's favorite saying, you have to kiss a lot of frogs before you find the prince. Mine weren't frogs, mine were toads. The word David. I love it. Oh, anyhow, but you get to a point then, and this is my key thing where I will say what you have to use in the law of attraction, and that is be specific. And I wasn't specific. I was just like, I just want to meet someone, get married, you know, I want a boyfriend. Suppose it wasn't even marriage at that time, you know, want a boyfriend or blah, blah, blah. And one night I can remember my friends were all here and we were chatting, and they were like, you know, what would you want? Let's write a list, Julie. Let's write a list. And we still laugh about the list. Let's write a list of what you want in a guy. And, you know, this finds really, you know, it sounds funny, but I'm encouraging you all write the list. So I started calling out, and my friends were just looking at me and their faces were dropping. I was like, no baggage. They were like, Julie, you've got baggage. I said, yes, I know. And that's why I don't want someone else with baggage. I want someone who will carry my bags for me. You know, I want you to carry my bags. There was things like, and I know, you know, when I think now, when I look back now and I'm saying this, and I'm saying it public, I have no bones about it. It maybe sounds really shallow, but there was reasoning behind it. Also, it's like, I want someone with a decent job who can look after themselves. And I don't mean a decent job or, you know, and what is a decent job? I suppose I wanted someone who was financially capable in their own right. And it was because, you know, I had been, you know, paying a mortgage by myself, doing all the bills, doing all that for myself for 7 years. I don't want to bring another child in tow that I have to look after. You know, so someone who could look after themselves, both financially and whatever else. Shoes was a huge one. Shoes, like, I mean, but I think a lot of girls are like that. And I remember my friend saying, would you not just like Julie, someone who would love you for who you are and blah, blah, blah. And I said, I'm not even stating that one because I thought that was obvious. That's a non-negotiable. To me, you know, well, we did write it down, but it was like, that was the non-negotiable. I mean, this sounds so shallow. They had to have it. There was certain cars that they could. But again, you know, what's the point of me going on a date and someone pulling up out there and getting the pure ick because they're driving? And I know that that shouldn't matter, but this is a key thing. I was being true to myself. I was being true and I was being honest. I wasn't going to say, oh, I'll take this man, he's brilliant, but he pulls up in this Fiat Panda from 1984 with the door hanging off and I'm mortified getting in. I don't want to feel like that. There was the shoot, there was the name. That is awful, but it's like, I just couldn't imagine being with somebody who had a real street. Now, I know all these things sound shallow and they sound hilarious, but I love it. down this list. I mean, the things on this list. And fast forward, when I met Stephen, he ticked every single box on the list, every single one. He has an
Oh my
obsession with
goodness.
shoes, and he has the obsession with shoes where he'll be like, you can tell a man by their shoes. He even has the same shoe obsession. You know, he drove the decent car, you know, all those things. And I know they sound very, very shallow, but he also had the key important thing that he idolizes me and my daughter. You know, he's carried my bag for the last 14 years.
Oh my God, Julie, there's so much to unpack here because everything you were saying there, I was like, oh, right, let's go back to, first of all, you wrote the list, you were so specific. This is what people have to understand, because if we say, you know, okay, I want more money, okay, well, there's 10p. We have to be so specific, and we know obviously we have to take the action to get, you know, the money or the relationship. So I just want to go back to when you were writing the list and your friends were saying, but don't you want to just do this and this and this, more or less settling? And, you know, this is what we have to understand. There's a lot of us are so limited in our thinking that we think that that's just not possible. You couldn't have all you want and you're okay. And this culture of, oh, single women and you can do it by yourself, which you can. Like yourself, I was single and I can do it by myself, but I didn't want to. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to have a partner, because it's one of our most basic needs to be together with other human beings and to have that one human being that you share all that with. So I actually don't really like that's going on in today's society of, you know, if you want to be single, fine, but do not make it out that there's something wrong with someone who does want a relationship. You know, it's one of the most basic needs.
I think it's no difference. You're frowned upon for wanting a relationship. Oh, she has to have a man or a woman or blah blah blah. But to me, that's no different from wanting kids. You know, if someone said I'd love to have a baby, oh brilliant, oh lovely, oh blah blah. So, but if you say that you want to have a husband, for goodness sake, you're all right on your own. You know, well, that's them. Well, if someone wants a child, say, well, sure, what do you need one for? You know, it's kind of, I think a lot of it's a Northern Ireland culture. I do think a lot of this kind of behaviour is, and that's not to tar everybody from Northern Ireland with the one brush, but I just mean society and generational and our upbringings.
Yeah, definitely. Even if we're looking at, you know, social media now and magazines and what's in you know, music videos, and it's all about the independent woman. And of course, I tell my daughters this, whenever you're older, you always earn your own money, because if you don't earn your own money, and it's okay if you don't, but I don't want my children to be like this, you will be dependent on someone, where it's literally for your survival. And you probably will compromise yourself if you're dependent on someone for your survival. So I always say to them, yes, you should always be earning your own money. But I think this independent woman, I think we're almost swinging to the other end of being so independent that we don't need a man. It's almost nearly turning into this toxic culture.
It is totally
we hate
toxic.
Men.
I saw a meme on Facebook the other day and I did laugh at it. And it was, you know, because I'm all about, you know, I've always worked and my Nicole works, and, you know, no matter what gender you are. But it was like women fought for the right to work. And I was like, what on earth was wrong with you? Why did you not just keep quiet? And it did actually make me laugh.
I love it.
You know, it was funny. But again, you know, that's the thing. It's gone too far. People are getting carried away. It's fine to be independent. I mean, I'm the most independent person there is. But at the same time, I'm fully dependent on Stephen, because if he wants to drive me about and take my bins out and do all the stuff that he does, like, it was funny this morning, I went to look for something and I knew exactly where it said it last night and it wasn't there. And I was like, but that was definitely there. And I knew, and I looked into our charging corner and we had just lifted it and put it in the, I don't know to charge anything. I don't know to put diesel in the car, take the bits out, all the things. But he wasn't there. Of course I could do that myself. Do you know what I mean?
That's it. If you never met Stephen, you would still be able to do those things. But it's nice that a man wants to do those things for his wife. Exactly. Why are we beating men up for? I know we've went off track here, but I love this conversation. You know, why are we beating men up for wanting to treat a woman and wanting to help her and wanting to cherish a woman? You know, because I was actually watching a podcast with, I don't know if you've ever heard of her, Christian Northrup. She's an OBGYN. She wrote the books, Women's Bodies, Women's Wisdom, Goddesses Never Age, Dodging and Energy Vampires. And she says men want to be respected and women want to be cherished. And if you respect, if a woman, I can't remember how she said it went, but if you cherish the woman, then that is respecting her also.
Okay.
And when
Oh,
you
yes.
respect your man, you're
Sure.
naturally going to cherish him. You're both going to get the same thing. But men do want respect, and of course women as well. But it's nice that a man wants to cherish a woman.
And
You know?
I think it's just a team thing. So it doesn't matter if the dynamic is man, woman, two women, two men, mother, child, husband and mum, or guy and mum living together. It's just a teamwork of a house is running a house and living together is really just a business. People have their different jobs like you would do in a team. So I think people just need to sort of calm down. And if you want to have your part, that's fine. Do it. Go do you do you. My favorite saying.
You do you exactly. Okay, so we know what you were before you met Stephen. So I know a wee bit because like I said, I love all your Instagram stories. But tell us what life looks like now that you have manifested Stephen.
Well, as I just said there, I do absolutely nothing because he doesn't. I do a lot. The guy never cooks. The guy never makes himself a cocktail. It's just contentment. I suppose that's a big one. Contentment, happiness, and safety. Feeling a type of safety. I know it's cliched. Oh, we're so happy together. Do you know what we are? It's just easy. Our relationship is easy. And I always say, I think it's maybe different because we met later in life. I was 33, Stephen was 36. A lot of couples are together through young. I had Nicole before then. There's not small children thrown into the mix. And I think I'm very lucky that we don't have a lot of factors influencing stress in the relationship or whatever else. And funny, just when I say that, the other week I have him tortured, and I'm always thinking of these scenarios, and I said, but do you not wish you'd have met me years ago? So you could have had me for longer, blah, blah, blah. And he said, no, I met you at the right time, because if I'd have met you years ago, I'd definitely have left you before now. And we were laughing, and that got me thinking about what I'm saying now, and we were just talking about it. And that's probably true, because 10 years before we met, I'm going to say Stephen was obsessed with his work. 10 years after we've met, Stephen's of course still obsessed with his work. But believe it or not, he's a lot calmer now than what he was then. And I sort of thought that is true. He's probably with age has got more laid back. Same with me. Nicole was a bit older. If he was here when she was younger, or blah, blah, blah. So it's all about divine time. And I'm all, about that. It's all about timing as well. We're happy, we're content, but not content in a way that, I don't mean we're always looking for more. He's my greatest supporter. Nicole as well. Anything that I want to do, if he came home tonight and I said, I want to fly to the moon tomorrow, he'd be like, right, okay, what do you have to do? Literally he would roll his eyes and just be like, what do you want me to do? So to have someone to support you and everything, positive attractions, that was huge. That came along naturally, organically through lockdown. And again, that was from the support of Stephen and Nicole as well, saying, well, why don't you do this? So traveling, that was a huge thing as well prior to meeting him. Traveling, I nearly wanted someone to travel with. We're always on the go, we're always on holidays, and people say to me, where's your favorite place to have been? Because you've been so many places. And and nice places, I'm very, very lucky. And I would say, to me, a holiday is not a place. A holiday is a feeling. And it's like, no matter where we go to, we will have an absolute ball. It's easy. We get on, everybody has their moments, of course they do. There's no point, I'm not painting this big fairy tale life, but it kind of is, I feel like he was my fairy tale. He was the Prince Charming that came along and has made me probably want to share my law of attraction stories even more. I know that sounds really like, oh, people will be like, oh, she's sad, but it's the truth. I speak from the heart. I always say when I'm educating people on this or talking to you or talking openly, I will always speak from the heart. And, giving us that family unit, I suppose.
Yeah. Oh, I just love that. No, I think we need to hear more of these stories, because again, it's true. It's a fact that happened, and, it's such a lovely story. And, you're just such a great couple, and you're so funny, and you just make me laugh so much. I remember I sent you the voice clip and I was killing myself laughing because it was to do with the diesel. You were going to get diesel in the car and he wanted you to go somewhere because it won't be cheaper or something. I nearly rolled up.
Still as bad. As you know, we had car trouble there and we were basically carless for I don't know how long, and he was absolutely losing his mind because the diesel had never been as cheap. He was like, this diesel's so cheap and I have no car to fill with it.
Oh, Julie. Oh, it's so funny. So here, do you want to share with us how you met Stephen then, when it actually happened? You don't have to.
No, yeah. I would love to. Me talk about my Stephen, of course, because again, I want to share a story and let people know that, you know, I've got the whole fairy tale now and we're all loved up and it's lovely and I love my life and, you know, he idolizes and loves me, I hope you'll be watching this going, but anyhow, but it wasn't an easy ride. I didn't just say, oh, I want Stephen, and the law of attraction brought him to me.
Yeah.
So and this story sort of tangles in with how everything happens for a reason. I'm a huge believer in that, and divine timing and all the rest. So I worked in a job and I was there maybe about 7 years, long term. And as you can imagine, I was reliant on my job. I'm very averse to say I was a single parent, because I always say Nicole had a daddy who was involved in her life. So I hate when people use that terminology. But I ran this household on my own. I was single here on my own, bringing her up. So one income to run the house. So my income was important. And I left it to go to a better job. And I was only there maybe about 3 months. And they closed down their whole Northern Ireland sales team. So essentially I was made redundant and I was jobless and I had a mortgage and I had a child and blah, blah, blah. And don't get me wrong, that's not a woe is me, because I was very lucky to have external support, you know, and it was always going to be okay. And I'm a very determined person. Like within a week of losing that job, I had 3 interviews, and the week later I started a temporary job. And I went to this temporary job, and it was for maternity cover. And it was a bit it wasn't totally the job that I wanted to do. It was like sales support as opposed to salesperson, but you know, it was a job and blah, blah, blah. But anyhow, on my first day there, this guy walked into the, what do you call that when you're sitting like with the HR girl, like your introduction? Totally forgotten the word. There is a word for it. But anyhow, he stormed on in. And Jenny was like, this is Julie. And he just looked at me and I thought, how rude are you? You're the rudest person I've ever met in my life. And I dare you storm on into this meeting. Like, why did you not knock the door and all? Anyhow, it was him. And so that was fine. We had a few interactions, and he was, when I say playing hard to get, but not playing hard to get in that stage of, you know, sense of a way, I was meant to go and do some training with him, and he kept putting me off, no things to do, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I would have spoken to him and he nearly would have looked and grunted at me. And I'm like, I'm the chirpiest, happiest person ever. And when I was suddenly not getting anything back from him, that made him attractive. And I was like, why are you not, like, I'm an only child who has been the center of everyone's universe my whole life, and you're suddenly not wanting to interact with me? Sorry. And this is all very tongue-in-cheek. I hope everybody knows I'm saying this all very tongue-in-cheek, how it's all about me. You know, I can laugh at myself. So that was the attraction. So then I had gone from, you know, I started, you know, chatting about him. Didn't let anybody know that I liked him at this point, but the more that he was, you know, quieter and shyer and not making it all about me, the more that the attraction got. So then I started to get chatting to the girls and work about him, not in you know, just in a roundabout way. And I realized like he was ticking all the boxes. You know, I'd seen his shoes, different pair of shoes every day. Still now, I'd seen the car that he drove. I knew he had a job he had, and it was like, you're ticking all these boxes. Apparently, apart from the fact that you're not making it all about me. So anyhow, you know, to this day, Stephen would admit then when he first met me, I was his worst nightmare, because I'm so loud and bubbly, and he's just like, and especially in work, he is a completely different person to what he is at home. You know, you see him sitting here on the laptop working. When he is in work, he is someone completely different. Like, you know, he is work zone. He's married to his work. I mean, the work comes first, like I'm second. I'm only joking. I'm not really. So I just made it all the more determined. Then I come out, and I was telling all the other people that worked there, you know, how I liked him. They were like, Julie, you're definitely not Stephen's type. You know, this will not happen. It's like, you will not tell me that this will not happen. So different things started to happen in that. At the time, we were both smokers. And well, that happened because I would have seen him going for a smoke, and I would have looked out the window and followed him out, you know, to make conversation. But, you know, we would have been together in conversations, and conversations started very small things. We had to work on a project together, just different things that I was like, this is kind of aligning. And one of the girls then said, I don't know, but I think she could be onto something here. And, you know, that whole time I was thinking, he's been brought to me. I was made to be made redundant. I was made to come to this job, blah, blah, blah. I also knew he was single. I also knew with no baggage. I was like, this has been brought to me. So anyhow, this went on and on. Cut to the chase. The long story short is, I mean, it was a Christmas do. It's the cliche Christmas do. He will still believe that we got together, not through the law of attraction, either through witchcraft or taking advantage of the free bar. It was either one of those things. Of course, it wasn't. It was the law of attraction. But again, you know, you're talking about opportunities. It didn't just bring him to me, and it wasn't just the Christmas do we got together and we were married the next day and we were happy as Larry. You know, it's presenting opportunities. And we got into a situation that evening, we were both outside in the smoking area, blah, blah, blah. And he said to me, how to this day, I don't know how he even got the confidence to do it, and he said it. And it then became aware, it was the whole thing. Everybody knew I was after him. Everybody knew except him, but he found out that day because everybody was drinking, blah, blah. And he said, so what's all this about you being after me? Something along those lines. And in that moment, my heart sunk. And I wasn't drunk enough to be like, oh, and it was like, I could have either said, no, no, do not, that's a load of nonsense. But then I thought, this is my opportunity. And I can remember thinking, this can go one of two ways. I can act really embarrassed and be like, what are you talking about? Of course it's not. Or I can just say, yeah, what about it? Which is what I did say. And again, it was not easy. He was like, it's never going to happen. And, you know, this went on back and forth, how it wasn't going to happen, why it wasn't going to happen. And I still kept going back. You know, I say, like the true salesperson I am, I handled every objection that he threw at me. And lo and behold, you know, that was it. You know, that night we kind of got together. He gave me his number, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, that's basically how it came about. But I just think there were so many factors in there that brought it all together. And, you know, there was the being specific. There was the opportunities. I could have ignored those opportunities. And don't get me wrong, again, when we got together, it wasn't all an easy ride, because then I started to manifest the engagement, the wedding, the blah, blah, blah. But here we are.
Oh my God. I just love that. Do you know what I love? It's something sort of tragic happening in your life, because it is tragic to lose a job. I know what that feels like too, when you have you know, children and you're being made redundant, the fear of that.
Yes, totally.
That's what they say when you know, painful endings are often usually disguised as new opportunities are usually disguised as painful endings, and that was a painful ending. It's like your whole world's crashing down, but it has to crash down in order for the new to come forward. And then there was all this opportunity wrapped up in you being made redundant, because it forced you then to go and look for another job. And you would never have met Stephen then, because you were at the right time, at the right place. You see,
Always.
the divine intervention here is unbelievable. And this is what I love, you know, talking to people about, is we try to get in the way too much.
Totally. Sit back and believe it's going to happen, and it'll happen. And see, that whole time, I mean, I started there, I think, in March. And Stephen and I got together in December. And it was, I'm going to say it was maybe in around June, July that I started to make my feelings known, not to him. And when I tell you that it was done in my head, and people were like, she is an absolute head case. And I used to be sitting there saying, now, when Stephen and I get married, we'll do this and we'll do that. And when Stephen and I get together, and they'd be going, there's something actually wrong with her. I had no doubt. When I tell you, I had no doubt in my mind. I had no doubt. Meanwhile, he's walking about completely oblivious, no idea what the rest of his life is about to be like. But I just, you know, and I spoke to a guy about this actually yesterday. And the key is, when you make a decision, when you make that decision, the law of attraction will do what it needs. Sit back and let it work. And, you know, you can be like, people used to say to me, I think it'll happen at the Christmas do, Julie. I think it's going to happen at the Christmas do. And I can remember there was times where I was like, no, I don't want it to happen at the Christmas do. And I can't wait until then. I want it to happen before then. But no, you just sit back and you let it, and it happened all at the right time.
That is so amazing. And this is proof that divine intervention knows how to do it better than you. Because if you try to force that, it probably wouldn't have been as, even though you had no doubt in your mind, this is going to happen. I know this is going to happen. So that's where faith obviously came in there for you. But it happened in its own natural way. It was totally organic, and it happened in the right way at the right time.
And I think a big, you know, lesson for people there, or, you know, a message to them is, don't stop at the first hurdle. You know, as I say, Stephen, then the thought of, you know, we laugh about it now. I always say, what would you do 15 years ago? People said to you, see that girl there, you're going to be married to, and you're going to be here. I would say they were like, their head was away. You know, he had zero interest in me, zero. You know, I just wasn't his type of person. You know, it's a real case of opposites attract. You know, the law of attraction came into force, and, you know, attracted us then to each other. Because it's funny how, you know, the tables did turn and things just changed. And then, you know, he realized that I maybe wasn't the person that he thought I was. And, we're perfect for each other. So my message is, if sometimes you think, oh, he doesn't like me because he's not speaking to me and the way he gets on, or, that night when he went, it's never going to happen. Don't always take no, fight for it, fight for what you want. And the law of attraction will bring it. If it's not meant for you, it's because something better is meant for you. But, all too often I think people give up too easily, and I think, oh no, well,
Yeah, it's almost like what Bob Proctor talks about. It's like a hidden guide. It's like this hidden sort of guide or a hidden genie, and you have to pass the persistence test.
Totally.
Because in order to be successful, you have to be persistent. Now, that's not being pushy, and you obviously didn't get
Yes.
Stephen in a headlock and say, "You better go out with me."
How do you know?
Or did you?
Say that.
So it's being persistent to say, I know this is going to happen, and I'm not letting go of the thoughts and the feelings,
and the desire.
I'm not letting go of my dream.
I think the universe will always, always maybe put things in the way just to prove how much you want that. And if you give up, then it's not for you,
Yeah.
But it just, I always say the stars aligned, and it's funny now because there's so many things that, I'm a big one for intuition and thinking, sometimes I'll think to myself about something, I'd be thinking something, then I realize it's happened, random things. But him and I always think the same thing. We'll be driving home from work, like the other night, it's so random. And he was like, what are you making for dinner? And I said, tacos. And in my head, I was thinking, this is so stupid, like, there's soft taco shells. I wish they were the hard, crispy ones. I'm so annoyed that they're not. This is what I was thinking in my head. I was like, raging, blah. And literally he said, hard or soft? And I said, they're the soft. He went, oh, really? I wasn't looking forward to the hard ones. I was like, oh my goodness, this is what I was thinking in my head. Blah, blah, blah. Stop at the shop. He goes in, we get the hard, stupid things like that. The other night, he was in work on Sunday, and I was like, what's for dinner? God, I love Chinese, blah, blah, blah. And he phoned and he was like, what are you at? What about dinner? I don't know. He goes, well, I stop on the way home, getting a harmony. And I was like, yes, I was just thinking that. It's funny that those two examples are about food, but they're always about, anytime we say something or think something, the other will be like, funny, I was thinking that too, and I've noticed that lately more and more and more. And it's like as if we were, I don't know, soulmates. Is that it?
Absolutely.
I know this sounds so gushy, but my reason for telling this story is, it is possible. I think there's too many people that, law of attraction or not, people think in this day and age, media or other things or other social factors have led us to believe that there's not always a happy ending, but there can be.
I know. I absolutely love this. And two people who were totally meant to be, and even no matter what was going on the outside, the obstacles and the challenges you came up against, that this force, the law of attraction, its force was bigger than what was going on in the circumstances, because it was going to make it happen no matter what. And it all started with you, first of all, wanting it to happen, and then being really, really specific.
And that's it. So I was specific. And then when I found the person who hit all the specifics, it was homing in on him.
Oh, I love it. Oh my God. So obviously you just answered there where faith came into that, because you just knew this is going to happen. So what about gratitude, Julie? Because it's one of the most important ingredients in the law of attraction.
Oh, totally. And I think everyone knows my take on gratitude and journal. And even way back then, I journaled, being thankful for what I have. And I was very grateful for the life that I had. I was very grateful, as I said to you, I was lucky enough to have had a child. I had my own house. I had my independence. I didn't have a horrible life by any way, shape or form, but I was very, very grateful for what I had. And I think the more you're grateful for, the more you will be grateful for. So then you're making yourself, ready and grateful enough to get more. So I made myself grateful enough to be able to accept Stephen into it. So gratitude is massive. And even now, every single day in life, I will write and make no bones about it, how grateful I am for my husband and my daughter and, my family and other things. But I really, really am. And I'll never forget. And another saying that I love is, imagine when you wished for exactly what you have now. And, sometimes there's tough days. He is driving me insane because he wants to drive 54 miles to get 2p off diesel, or he's on that blah, blah, blah. And you're like, because I'm a realist. While we live the fairy tale, there are days I could throttle him. Every single day he could throttle me. Somebody said something about, there was something about how I wind someone up. Seems like you wind me up. Am I married to you? So those days it happens. But every time when that does happen, I always think, imagine when I just wished and visualized. I used to sit and visualize. That was another huge thing. Gratitude and visualization. I'm huge in both of them. That wouldn't it be lovely if Stephen was at my house and he was here and it's like, and I'm married to him and I haven't. So that always strips me back and makes me even more grateful. So I say that's my message again to anybody. If you're ever finding it tough with a situation, think, imagine when you wished for exactly what you have right now and go back to what it was like then, and that will flood you with gratitude. Absolutely flood you.
Absolutely. And what I'm to sum up everything you said there, I think it's trusting in the process. You have to trust in that process. Of course, you have to do your bit. You have to act and and take the opportunities that come up. But you won't know the process until it's actually happened. You don't know it until you've reached the destination, and then you look back. You can only piece the jigsaw together, looking back and go, oh my God, that's how that happened. And I couldn't have done that myself. It had to have been divine intervention and divine timing. That's the only way that could have happened as perfect as it did.
And another one, not even trusting the process, is trusting your gut. I think that's huge. I am a great believer in gut feeling. And, I can remember when I met him and I thought, I made the decision, you're mine. And I could feel it. I had the gut feeling that was going to happen. Like I had the gut feeling where maybe previous relationships or dates that you went on or things, you were just like, they are not for me. And you knew in your gut, and you'd be like, oh yeah, well, he's a nice guy because did that. No, you knew in your gut. Yeah. And now, I think that's massive. I think we need to stop and really look at that. Everything that everybody talks about now is the gut health. Everything comes from the gut. If you've got headaches, if you've got rashes, if you've got dizzy, it's your gut health. So everywhere now, they're on to something. They know gut feeling is a thing as well. When you get that feeling in your stomach, whether good or whether bad, be true to yourself and follow it. Always follow it.
Absolutely, because the gut, we all know that feeling. When someone's energy, you go, I don't like, because you can feel it. We're not judging, but we're just saying, I don't like the energy of that person, don't really want to spend time with that person. So the gut will always give you that feeling of, danger or beware. Yes. And I don't know if you're familiar with the work of Greg Braden, but he talks about our intuition actually is in the heart, and it's physically in our heart. So that's intuition. So the gut instinct is there to, I think, more for survival or to warn us of something. But the intuition is actually in our heart, and he teaches you a simple breath to tap into your intuition in your heart, because if you say you want to make a big decision about your life and you want the answer, if you ask your brain is covered in filters. Your brain will give you the pros, the cons, they'll take you down the whole, reroute and the longest route, and probably won't even give you the right answer. But if you understand how to tap into your heart intelligence, your heart knows already before you ask it, and it always gives you the right answer, always 100%. And it's those little things I wish people understood, that we have all these abilities available to us within us. So Julie, before we finish off, obviously I was talking to you about where I'm heading with my business now. I'm diving into confidence, because I think it is key to probably everything within ourselves, because again, we're looking at society and we're seeing what so many women in particular, what we're doing on the outside. Because what I'm trying to figure out is it really confident we want to feel? Is that what we want to feel if we get a gastric band, if we get Botox, if we get lip fillers? And again, listen, it's your body and it's your life. I just want to get to the root of that and find out from people, what is it that people actually want? Because I want to help people and teach them how to develop confidence first from within. So what is confidence? What role has confidence played in your life?
Goodness, this is again one for me. I would consider myself a hugely confident person, and I am, to the point where Nicole will say, "Mummy, you're not confident, you're cocky." There's a fine line there. And I know that not everybody has that, and I'm always one that it'll always come from your childhood. Blame the parents, and I do think that's where that's come from. I was an only child, and I was an only child in a time where only children weren't really a thing. I was born very late 70s. Growing up in the 80s, where it just wasn't the norm. So I do think it came from that, because it's funny, because my mum has zero confidence, none. My dad would have been more confident, but quietly confident. People always say, "Where do you get your confidence from? Where does it come from?" Because it doesn't come from your parents. And it's like, well, it did come from them. It's not a personality. It came from, I suppose, the upbringing, and me just being, I don't know, my confidence cup was just filled up. So I do believe that that's where I've got in life, just with confidence. But it pains me to see how little confidence that people have. And, people say to me, "How do you do this? How do you do that?" And I will revert it all back to confidence. It was like, the Stephen thing. Oh, he'll be mine. And I was confident in that decision. And confidence is a bit like making a decision. And confidence doesn't always have to be standing in front of a stage talking to people. People are like, "How do you have that?" That doesn't always have to be confidence. Confidence is making a decision inside and sticking to it. I suppose that's important, that I should say, yes, I have the confidence where I would stand anywhere, sit in front of a camera, who cares, but that doesn't take confidence. Anybody can do it. True confidence is being confident and having a belief within yourself. And I suppose that's what I've always done. I'll take the leap of faith and do, like I can remember an opportunity arose for me to go down to 3 days a week at work, something that I thought I always wanted. And then when it came, I was like, "Do I want this?" Oh, blah, blah, blah. I took the leap of faith. Yes, I'll do it. I had the confidence. This is what I'm going to do. My very first workshop's like, "Oh, I don't know. Could I do this? I don't know, blah, blah, blah." I had the confidence inside. I made the decision and I went and did it. So to me, confidence is not necessarily always standing up on stage and being loud and brash, because a lot of time those people aren't really the confident ones. Confidence is within you. It's a belief and making a decision and just going with it. Just believe in yourself. Nearly belief in yourself. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I've went round and round there to say confidence is belief in yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that self-assurance that no matter what, I am enough within myself, while still, this is where the fine line comes here. It's still important that we continue to improve, so, we don't want, because we're here to grow, and growth means change. So whilst we still want to aim at getting better at whatever area of your life, maybe you want to get better, maybe you want to be healthier, maybe you do want to be up speaking, or make whatever it is in your life you want to get better at. But we have to get to the root of within myself. The answers are always within myself. It has to start there and it has to end there. And I'm going down more the route of looking at women who have got these, gastric bands in Turkey, because it's one thing to get Botox in your lips done, but doing these extreme, I would call them, procedures, unless it's literally life or death, that's okay. But these extreme procedures where they have risked not only their health, but they've literally put their lives on the line, because we're hearing a lot of these stories, and they're coming home and they're batch surgeries. And I'm wondering, why are they doing that? Is it deep down, is it they want to feel confident? Because it doesn't matter what size you are. We know this. Even somebody at a size 8, you could be a size 8, but you still might not be confident. So it's not about the size. It's not about the weight on the scales. That this is the message I want to get across to people, that it has to start within.
Always. And even if, a lot of people will go and get their Botox and their surgeries, and they've done a lot of soul searching, and they have from within, it's come from within, and that's fine. But I suppose it's like anything, be true to yourself and be doing it for all the right reasons. It has that's what confidence is, doing it for the right reasons. And then, for a lot of people, it takes confidence to go out and doing that. So, if you've made the decision, it's the right decision, that's confidence too. And then confidence does mean different things to different people as well. As we've said, some people think confidence is standing up on a stage. Some people think confidence is walking out in a pair of, or mini skirt or a pair of skinny jeans. But to other people, confidence might just be getting out of bed in the morning and getting downstairs to make a cup of tea.
Yes,
Because the
that's
amount of
it.
people that don't even have the confidence for that is just, yeah, it just blows my mind. I think I lived in a bubble for far too long of, I had this nice life, I had the confidence, blah, 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 or, it's happy going along. And I now realize since COVID, probably I've realized, and I'm being, more active in social media and connecting with more people. I now realize that I lived in a complete and utter bubble. The amount of people that are in turmoil is not normal or healthy. And it's
Yeah.
brilliant to see people like yourself going out there to try and help them and get to the root of the problem and stop it going forward.
Yeah, and that's it. And no one's saying not to get the surgery. No one's saying not to get your treatments. Not at all. Because I probably think of myself and go, yeah, I would like this done and that done, But for me, I done the work on the inside. I still have things to do, of course, but I want to be able to develop confidence within myself, so it's not dependent on someone or something outside of me. So I don't
Exactly.
want to be at the mercy of a needle. I don't want to be at the mercy of my bank card because I have to pay for this treatment,
Yeah.
I want to have that empowerment within myself. And that's the message I want to get, across to people. So yes, Julie, I have absolutely loved this conversation. And it really does feel like a fairy
Okay.
tale, you and Stephen, whether you want to think that or not, it really sounds that way. And it's so sweet. Just the journey of where you were and where you are now. And obviously, there's no such thing as a perfect relationship, but if you have the fundamental things there, obviously, the love and the respect, and he clearly does cherish you, and obviously there's a whole lot of
And
things.
again, it goes down to the law of attraction again. A lot of in relationships, what you put in, you get out. That's probably it too. Just
Yeah.
go with the flow and yeah.
Yes.
Can you
Well,
say,
listen.
home and I'll be ready to kill him after an hour. He's plunked down in that sofa and he'll be looking at a beer and a bowl of crisps and I'll be ready to throttle him. But it is a fairy tale.
I know. I just absolutely love that story, and I just want to thank you for sharing it. And I know people are definitely going to be inspired by this, especially using this example, because there's a lot of people out there who do want to manifest their ideal partner, and letting them know that A, it's possible, and B, don't settle for whatever it is
Don't
you don't
settle.
want.
Yeah, that's my big
Be
message.
specific.
Never settle and be absolutely specific. And
Yeah.
again, not even, that's not necessarily with my example, with any example, specific. Be really, really, don't settle for anything and just keep visualizing the ending you want.
Yes, and have the
And be
faith that it
grateful
will
for
happen.
what you have. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Julie, thank you so much. Absolute pleasure having you here. And I could talk to you all day, but we'll come on again, and we can talk about something else that you've manifested, because you've manifested so many things. We can definitely do this again. So I will get this up on YouTube and tag you in it. And yes, so thank you so much, Julie.
Enjoy your weekend.
Yes, I will indeed. Thank you.
Thanks, Carrie.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.